Hello, everybody. This is Sinev, and I'm coming to you with Touch, a Ticci Toby X Reader by KissedByRain. Now, this is a story I read when I was younger. I have not read this since a long time ago. It has been quite a while. And as far as I remember, it was really, really good. And I used to be a huge fan of Tiki Toby when I was younger. I used to geek out so bad. And it was so hard for me to find really good fan fictions. And this was a really good one that I remember. Now, all these rights go to Kissed by Rain. They unfortunately do not make fan fictions anymore. They said they were going to be pulling out of the fandom around in 2021, and everyone was pretty upset about it, but it's understandable. They going through life and you get older, it just kind of happens. But I'm going to share the story with you guys, and if you guys have heard this or read the story before, it's on Wattpad and I'll put a link down below in the description. Let me know. And if you guys want me to read another chapter from this, comment below. Let me know how you feel about it. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Now there's a trigger warning for the story. It says the story may be triggering for those who suffer from self-harm or depression. If you're sensitive to these things, be cautious if you decide to listen in. And that's what was on here. Um, but let's get started. She missed the times her father would pull her up from under her arms and bounce her up. She remembered that her hands would grasp and try to pull down the sky when she landed back in his arms, full of laughter. She missed the times when she was holding ever so tightly on his leg as he tried walking forward. She missed him when she found out he was gone, leaving only a smashed bottle against the wall. Her mom bawling her eyes out, pregnancy test in hand, the baby belonging to another man. She didn't understand at the time. Why had he left? Did he not love her anymore? Did she do something wrong? She was 10 at the time, her mother pulling her close while she cried into her neck, staining her neck with tears. Her father left them 4 years ago. Today was her 14th birthday. Wyan? A small voice comes from behind her. Wyan whirled behind her, startled. A smile tugged at her lips at the sight of Lucas. He was standing in nothing but a diaper and a blue shirt. Hey, Lucas, she greets him with false cheerfulness. His big eyes look up at her, his eyelashes brushing under his furrowed eyebrows. Why are you crying? Her heart falters. She crouched down so that they were eye level. Why are you sad? He questioned her innocently. You have ouchie? No, Wyan chuckles. I'm okay. Wyan, your friends are here. She hears her mom call from downstairs. Wyan releases Lucas from her grip and stands up. I gotta go, bud. I'll see you later. She ruffles his hair as she walks out of her doorway and down the stairs to see all of her friends by the front door. Her mother held it open. Bye, Mom. Be safe. Wyan stares bored at her friend as she went on and on about something that didn't cease to matter to anyone but herself. Her eyes look out the window. She and her friends were hanging out at a cafe. The sky was beautiful today as the sun set. The sky flourished with bright orange and pink. The few dappled clouds even had a light pink tint. Wyan, are you listening to me? Saskia, a girl that one of her other friends brought along with that she's only spoken to a couple of times. Wyan was positive she hated her guts. Huh? Wyan doesn't spare her a glance, continuously to marvel the sunset. You never listen to me, Wyan. It's really getting on my nerves, she complains rather loudly. Her dark hair rolled over her shoulder, hazel eyes piercing her. Wyan looks at her from the corner of her eyes, a small mocking smile on her face. Good. Holy, Wyan, look! She gazes up to where her friend points. It was the TV in the corner. It was on the live news. A picture of her house, police cars and ambulances, yellow police tape going all the way across the road to keep the crowd of people out. Juan doesn't even listen to what they are saying. She just shoots up from her seat. Her friends call her name as she runs out of the cafe, her eyes wide with fear and tears brimmed. By the time she had reached her house, her sides were aching. She pushes through the crowd of people that go under the yellow police tape in a hurry. Ryan shoves an officer off her and bolts into the house, locking the door behind her before they could stop her. She didn't see anyone inside, so she relaxed just a bit. The house was quiet. She shouts for her mother and her brother. The house was still silent. She almost trips while trampling up the stairs into her mother's room. The door creaked open. Police banging on the door, breaking it open. She flung open the door in a hurry. "Mom?" She saw her mom. She was just sitting there on her favorite chair. Lucas was slumped over her like he may be asleep. The way she was sitting on her side, she had one arm stretched out on her side where her phone was. Its screen was on. Her hand was all bloody. Her other hand lay limply on Lucas's side. She stops when she sees red. Blood was everywhere, and Wyatt became cold and frozen and stopped breathing. A gunshot there and a shot here, one of his stomach and one on her mother's temple. Her voice breaks. She can't speak. It cracks, and she finally steps forward, too shocked to cry, too shocked to hear the police racing up the stairs. She reaches out, hand trembling and falling, touching Lucas's small cheek, the tiniest little red smudge there. His eyes were closed, his mouth gaped open. "Lucas! Lucas!" A hand snatched around Wyan and pulled her back, pinning her to a hard body. Another man, a police officer with a gun in hand, briefly examining the bodies and quickly looking away. Her family's dead corpses. She hadn't realized she was screaming until it died in the air. It died and joined the other screams as she was led away by the officer. Wyan thrashed and screamed. Her lungs refused to suck in air. She wanted to stop time, die with that scream, so this pain she was feeling would only be a cold memory. Then it comes. Her lungs expand. Her body decides for itself. She's one breath away from them, then two, then three, then four, then five. Too far. It was too far. She's still breathing. That was 3 years ago. And now she's staring out a small window in a small room with a small bed, thinking of times when it would finally be over. She's one breath away from them, then two, then three, then four, then five. The pads of her fingers brush over the thin plate of glass. The cold brings her mind forward and out the window at the trees, the sky. Everything was out there. It was always untouchable, to her at least. She only knew of the weather outside, and for a while she thought that would be enough to rid of the desire to venture outside. Maybe it was, and she was being too greedy. But is it greedy to want to roam free without being told no? It was raining today, just like yesterday. Fat raindrops fell to an uncertain end on the window. She watched the drops slide and split until she was unaware of what lied around her. She lets her hand slip down the window. Moisture from the rain outside was collected on the way. Her breathing swallowed up by the soft pitter-patter rushing through the wind that was barely audible to her ears. Her brown eyes drift down to her lap where she was scribbling down words in her small notebook with her pen that managed to work. She somehow managed to ration the little ink of the pen and feared she would be out very soon. What would she do once it ran out? She doesn't write it every day, only when she needs to pour out her feelings. It was a replacement for when she wanted to talk to someone, but she never could. Not to those doctors, nurses, or therapists that come and go. They never did stay that long anyway. Entry 36. I wish I was a bird, to fly and fly so, so far away from where I am now, and will always linger, if that were possible. I'm jealous of birds, in a way. They were free. I'm not. They can brush the clouds with the tips of their wings. I will never even feel sand in between my toes as waves pushed up the shore littered with seashells, washing so many sandcastles away. I wanted to jump in piles of red, orange, and yellow and green leaves in late fall, watching as they spread across the yellowish-green grass. I wanted to ride down hills on a sled with my arms up grasping at the gray sky as snow rushed past me. But those wishes never came true. As far as I know, they never will. And I was left thinking and imagining things that will never come true because the world is too selfish to give me any sort of form of mercy. She never writes down the date for only one simple reason. She doesn't know. All she knows is if it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's warm outside, or if flowers are blooming by her window. When she's bored, she would stare and stare out the window all day. The small window beside her bed is the only window to the outside world. She would break the window to escape, but it's too small to fit her through. She would break it and scream for help if she saw somebody, but she's only greeted by a forest of pine trees 100 feet away. Between there was green grass and wilted flowers and a single white willow tree. Even so, who would ever want to help her? She was here for a reason. She must be delusional or crazy, right? She hasn't spoken to anyone since she was put here. She hasn't had any human contact aside from the therapist who tried to help her. But even uh, they left because she knew healing would take time and effort. Nobody had the patience to wait for her to reach that next step. Returning her back to her original broken down state and being forced to start all over again. She was put here around almost 3 years ago, a month or two after her birthday. They said late happy birthday and locked her up in a small room with only one bed, a window, and a notebook she happened to have when they dragged her in there. They locked her in here because she was insane. After her mother and brother were murdered by a robber, she wouldn't speak. She would scream at anyone who would dare touch her. She would claw and snip. Sometimes she would scream all throughout the night or claw her arms until they went numb and her nails filled with her torn off flesh and blood. Now she's in a mental asylum for her crazy behavior and disorders. Her father refused to take her in, so did orphanages. Nobody wants a crazy teenager. And now she's here. She thinks she's lost a big portion of her mind. Being locked up in the same room for nearly 3 years has driven her off the cliff. It would drive anyone crazy. At first, she was allowed to roam the halls, but she went and blew that by attacking a doctor and a therapist a couple of times. Now she wasn't allowed to leave unless absolutely necessary. She sighs, her eyes fluttering closed as she lays on her stiff mattress, the blanket wrapped tightly around her. All she needs is sleep, and she does this with time, this time with ease. It smells like rain in the morning. The room is heavy with the scent of wet stone, upturned soil. Though the air is cold, she finds it refreshing and manages to soothe her mind. The rain has stopped now. The sun has already started to rise as she looks out the window that had fresh raindrops trailing down it. The rain has just stopped, she thinks, her warm breath fogging up the glass when she presses her nose to the chilly surface. Her room was freezing, so she wraps the cream-colored blanket around herself and stands up from the bed. The cold tile floor fully wakes her up. Her room didn't have much in it. A toilet, a sink where her toothbrush, hairbrush, and her other things were at, a shower where its hot water would only last 8 minutes, and a drain in the floor. It wasn't much, but at least it was something that was her own. She closes her eyes, sighs, and complies to float in her thoughts. Author's note, edit was made in 2019. Hey, so I wrote this 2 years ago when I was like 13 or 14, so it will have its fair share of mistakes and cringy moments, but I hope you enjoy reading it nevertheless. And that was the first two chapters, guys. If you guys want me to continue reading more of this, let me know. For this person being this young when they wrote this, I think the writing is like awesome. It's phenomenal to me. Um, it has a lot of parts on it. Like this is a very long series. I think it was like 4 hours worth. But if you guys want me to continue reading this, let me know. Um, Other than that, you guys have a good day, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.